From laughter to luxury, how a billionaire changed everything for this curvy queen. The night was thick with anticipation as starlight shimmered across the glitzy red carpet. People whispered in awe, their breaths hitching at the sight of Yara, the curvy queen, whose journey from obscurity to opulence seemed almost unreal. Laughter exploded around her, but it was the hushed tones that tickled the edges of her mind. What was she doing here? Moments before, she was an underappreciated waitress dreaming of riches. Now, a billionaire had thrown her into the spotlight, making her a symbol of success, but also stirring questions that danced on the edge of scandal. Just last week, she'd been flipping pancakes, watching the world zoom by through the kitchen window, a worn-out apron hugging her curves. Now she was draped in silks and diamonds, the scent of expensive perfume swirling around her like a cloud of ambition. Every glance seemed to devour her, every flash of the camera clicked with hungry urgency. The life of luxury felt almost too colossal, like walking through a dream that could shatter at the slightest touch. People gawked as she made her way to the entrance, an old friend's gasp cutting through the buzz. "Is that really Yara?" was the burning question. A tall woman in a chic black dress looked her up and down, mouthing something to a gaggle of giggling onlookers, who reacted as if a secret bomb had just dropped. But nestled in Yara's chest, a tightening sensation grew. Was she truly ready for all these eyes? As she stepped inside, a hush fell over the crowd, a rare moment of silence so palpable it felt like the world held its breath. A sudden blast of laughter shattered the tension, and it echoed like a siren call, luring Yara deeper into the heart of this new existence. Who was she meant to be in this labyrinth of wealth? Those thoughts lurked as shadows, clawing for attention just as someone approached. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." Suddenly, a chilling breeze snaked its way through the hall, carrying whispers of things unseen. Yara's heart pounded. Who was that watching her from the shadows? A fleeting figure slipped behind the gilded curtains, the fleeting glimpse of a familiar face. Someone from her past. What did they want? As Yara's mind raced, a single question burned bright in her heart. Had her new life come with a price she wasn't ready to pay? Yara felt the ground tilt beneath her as that face flickered in her memory like an old film reel she couldn't quite grasp. It was Derek. The boy from her neighborhood, the one with dreams that far outstripped his circumstances. She hadn't seen him in years, and yet, he had carved a permanent space in her heart, grew alongside her hopes and caught the ashes of her failures. Why was he here? Wasn't he meant to be a distant dream, wrapped in the past? Her breath snagged in her throat as she scanned the room, searching for him. No more laughter echoed within her. Instead, a weighted silence cloaked her, threading its icy fingers around her spine. She needed to stay clear-headed, to navigate this world of opulence without breaking a sweat, but all she could feel was the prickle of unease climbing up her skin. People jostled past her, hearts racing with the thrill of the night, but Yara took a step back, swallowed by the waves of the crowd. Pitching herself against a wall, she steeled herself, avoiding the longing gaze of fellow partygoers, their curiosity practically gnawing at her. What was she doing here? Stepping into the unknown was one thing, but allowing someone a piece of her past into this newly crafted facade felt like opening Pandora's box. And in that chaos, she decided. She wouldn't let Derek's presence rattle her. Yara was determined to control the narrative. She pulled her shoulders back, inhaling deep to solidify her resolve. She was a queen tonight, and queens didn't cower. Just as doubts started to settle like a fog in her mind, an elegant figure materialized, interrupting her thoughts. It was Alexander, her billionaire benefactor. He moved towards her with that air of confidence that had the sheer power to ignite the room. His sharp blue eyes pierced through the crowd and landed square on her. "Yara," he called, and warmth spread over her, loosening the tight grip fear had on her chest. "You look stunning." Before she could thank him, he stepped closer, a low murmured query brushing her ear. "Are you all right? You seem unsettled." It took effort for her to nod, his presence both comforting and intimidating. Why had he taken an interest in her? She was just a waitress, now pretending to be someone she wasn't. I'm fine," she stammered, not wanting to reveal how stumbling through this world of people who had it all together felt like trying to dance on a tightrope. But as Yara asked herself if she could truly pull this off, Derek re-emerged in her line of sight, this time standing boldly at the edge of the crowd, scanning the room with intensity. The moment their eyes locked, a jolt of recognition surged through her, like electricity crackling in the air. What was he doing? Was he here to glean something from her newfound life, or was he the one holding the truth she hadn't wanted to face? Yara felt a shiver run down her spine, questions flooding her mind. Her chest tightened as she battled the fissures of old wounds reopening. Choices were looming like shadows, she needed clarity. The stakes felt higher than ever, and as she turned away from Derek, back towards Alexander, the laughter from moments ago dissolved into a grotesque echo. She had to know what Derek wanted and why he had come crashing back into her life just as the gates of her dreams swung wide open, but the answer danced just out of reach, and with it, the gripping realization hit her she might not be the only one hiding secrets in the glimmering light of this lavish affair. What was about to unravel, and who else was tangled in this intricate web? The night was far from over, and Yara's fearless stride led her deeper into danger. What lay ahead would challenge everything she had become, and soon, she'd find out just how high the price of luxury truly was. Yara's heart raced, a wild drumbeat against the lavish backdrop of shimmering chandeliers and clinking glasses. Alexander's presence, warming her like a gentle embrace, stood in stark contrast to the icy grip of fear tightening around her. She could feel the walls closing in, and Derek's intense gaze lingered behind her eyelids, a ghost she didn't want to confront. "Yara?" Alexander's voice pulled her from her spiraling thoughts. "Yeah?" She responded, her voice faltering slightly as she forced a smile that felt more like a mask than true joy. "I'd like to introduce you to a couple of my business associates." His words were smooth, like silk, and yet Yara could hear the underlying curiosity. Alexander studied her, searching for cracks in her facade. Before she could respond, he lightly grasped her elbow, guiding her toward the center of the crowd. Panic surged within her as she glanced over her shoulder. Derek still stood there, dominating the periphery, an unresolved puzzle waiting to snap into clarity. She shook her head, dismissing her fears, focusing on Alexander and the people surrounding her. "Gentlemen, this is Yara," Alexander announced, and the group turned their attention toward her. She felt the weight of their stares, like tiny pinpricks igniting her skin. "Nice to meet you," she managed, her voice steady despite the storm raging in her chest. They chatted amicably, their words flowing easily, while Yara struggled to keep pace. But she felt out of place, an imposter in a world crafted from dreams and dollar signs. Laughter rang out louder than the clinking of glasses, yet she felt a silence wrapping around her. "Isn't that the girl from last week's gala?" One man whispered to another, and she caught fragments of their conversation, filled with curiosity and judgment. "Such a peculiar choice for Alexander," another replied, heat crept up her cheeks at their scrutiny. Humiliation bubbled below the surface, mixing with her growing frustration. She was nobody's spectacle, she was meant to shine in this new world, not closet herself in pain, and then there was that glint Derek weaving through the throng with relentless purpose. He made his way directly toward her, determination radiating from him. Yara's breath hitched as she scanned for an escape, but her feet felt glued to the marble floor. "Yara," Derek's voice broke through the ambient noise, low and raw. "Can we talk?" "No." Her reply came out sharper than she'd intended, slicing through the ambient laughter. The room halted for a split second, a collective breath held. "Just hear me out," he insisted, stepping closer. The crowd pulsed around them, but it felt suddenly distant, closing in like a noose. Seriously? We don't have anything to discuss. Anxiety wrestled with anger in her chest, making it hard to hold his gaze. She could only feel desperation bubbling up in Derek's eyes. Don't you remember? His face was earnest, and for a heartbeat, Yara was overwhelmed with memories, days drenched in sunlight, laughter woven into shared dreams, the air thickened, holding secrets that begged to spill. She could sense Alexander stepping slightly forward, hovering protectively nearby, not yet ready to ignite the tension brewing. I don't need reminders of my past. Yara glared at Derek, but her resolve wavered. His presence was a magnetic force tugging at the raw edges of who she used to be. Maybe you do. He let the words linger, and Yara felt the weight of it all settle on her shoulders. Could he really bust open Pandora's box? A sudden commotion erupted near the entrance, and heads turned as a figure burst through the doors, disheveled, damp, eyes wide with fear. Help! They cried. You have to help me. He's after me. Yara's chest tightened while the atmosphere crackled with anticipation. The look on Derek's face shifted, the familiarity replaced by something sharper: fear? Recognition? What the hell is going on? She whispered, confusion cascading through her. In that moment, the lights dimmed, shadows deepened, and the bubbling tension began to spiral out of control. What had she walked into? And what hidden truths were poised to surface, weaving everyone further into danger? She felt the world around her shift as the night loomed heavy with unanswered questions. As clarity slipped once again out of reach, Yara braced herself for whatever storm was about to break. Yara's heart thudded wildly as the room fell silent, the atmosphere thick with a tension that blanketed the opulence of the gala. The stranger's frantic plea echoed in her ears, piercing through the cautiously cheerful chatter that had filled the air only moments before. Help! The figure stumbled into the light, revealing a woman with disheveled hair and panic etched into every feature. He's trying to kill me. Gasps swept through the crowd like a wave, and Yara felt like she was drowning in uncertainty. Derek's posture shifted, his jaw tightening as he visibly absorbed what he was hearing. The atmosphere shifted from festive to fear-laden. Was this really happening in front of her? In a place where wealth shielded the elite from the world outside? Who? Yara's voice shook as she spoke, desperation creeping in. She scanned the faces in the room, the interest, the disbelief, the fear. They seemed as unsettled as she was, yet strangely intrigued. The woman's eyes darted around, and Yara caught a glimpse of something more than just fear. Recognition? Was it directed towards Derek? Yara's confusion deepened, as she grasped for clarity in a crowd that had suddenly turned menacing. I don't know. The woman's breath was quick, and frenzied. He's been following me since last week. I thought I lost him. I thought I was safe here. Is this a joke? Someone muttered near the back, disbelief lacing their tone. Laughter that had once bubbled up was snuffed out, replaced by an oppressive atmosphere as the crowd shifted, forming a bubble of separation around the woman. And then the lights flickered ominously. One by one, the chandeliers dimmed, shadows stretching eerily across the marble floor. Yara felt a chill snake down her spine, a premonition that the evening's glitter was about to tarnish into something darker. Yara, Derek stepped closer, urgency bleeding through his voice. We need to get out of here. Get out? Why? Her pulse quickened, unsure where his sudden panic stemmed from. Was it about the woman? Or something deeper? What do you know? Just trust me, please. Derek's eyes were wide, the familiar warmth now replaced by something primal: fear. It clawed at her insides, wrapping her in doubt. Alexander stepped forward, protective instincts flaring as he took Yara's arm gently. We can't leave without knowing what's happening. We have to help her. His gaze flicked to Derek, whose jaw remained tense, caught in a whirlwind of emotions that ran deeper than Yara had ever seen. She opened her mouth to argue, to insist they needed a way out, but before she could speak, the crowd surged. A sharp scream pierced the air, unmistakable and raw, pulling Yara's attention back to the woman. "Stop! You don't know what he's capable of." The words barely left her lips when the doors burst open again. In walked a man cloaked in shadows, his presence commanding. The crowd parted with gasps of horror, like the Red Sea yielding before a relentless tide. Recognition flooded through Yara as she locked eyes on the man. A suffocating dread settled over her, dragging her back to memories she had desperately tried to bury. This was no stranger. This was a nightmare made flesh. Yara Derek breathed, his expression turning a mix of fear and urgency. "We need to move now." But her feet wouldn't budge. The memory of his wicked smile haunted her thoughts. What was he doing here? And who was chasing that woman? Every instinct screamed at her to run, but another part of her stood frozen, locked in a fatalistic grip as the past intertwined with the present. Time ticked away, each second fraught with impending danger. The man's eyes scanned the room, narrowing as they landed on Yara. She knew she had a choice to make. There was no more pretending. What had she stumbled into? The truth was closing in like a manacle around her throat. And if she didn't act now, the repercussions could be deadly. With her heart pounding like a war drum in her chest, she whispered, "What are we going to do?" And she knew the night wasn't finished with its secrets just yet. Yara's mind raced. Derek's urgency pressed against her like a weight, squeezing the air from her lungs. Her instincts warred should she confront the past, or flee from it. The shadows shifted as the man advanced, his gaze fixed on her, an unsettling familiarity radiating from him. "Yara," he hissed, his voice a silken threat. "You think you can hide from me?" Fear coursed through her veins, hot and suffocating. Around her, whispers crackled through the crowd, eyes wide with shock, a mix of morbid curiosity and raw panic. "Who is he?" Alexander asked, his grip tightening on her arm. "You know him? Get down." Derek shouted suddenly, lunging toward the woman who had stumbled into their lives as if he'd been struck by an electric current. He grasped her shoulders, pushing her back from the advancing figure. The moment Derek moved, chaos erupted. Jostled guests screamed, scattering like startled birds. The air thickened with confusion, a miasma of fear and uncertainty. Hushed gasps morphed into frantic yelps as the women clutched at their pearls and men surged defensively, as if to form a barrier between the horror and the apparent safety of the gala's gilded edges. Yara's heart raced with desperation, uncertain if she should be moving towards or away from the danger. The man, a specter woven from the fabric of her worst memories, seemed to revel in their terror. "Yara," he taunted, a sinister smile twisting his lips. "You're the center of attention again, just like old times. Don't you miss it?" She couldn't let him draw her in. "Stop. What do you want?" Her voice trembled, thunderous determination fighting against the quiver of her confidence. "I just want to have a word with you," he replied, feigning innocence. But his eyes gleamed with malice. "You left me, remember? You made a mistake." The woman next to Derek took a staggering step backward, panic rising in her throat. "He's not safe. We need to leave." Yara's mind raced again. They couldn't just leave this woman. But what if this man had other plans? What if staying meant endangering everyone? "Yara, now!" Derek shouted, pulling her closer to him, urgency spilling over. But she had to make a choice. Suddenly, she spun towards Derek, fear mixing with resolve. "Let us get her out. We can't just leave her." Before Derek could respond, a low growl issued from the man. "Oh, but she's not the one you should be worried about." A horrible realization crashed over her like icy water. The crowd was still. They weren't just spectators, they were trapped. Shadows gathered closer, the threat surrounding them like a predator nearing its prey. "I have the means to have you both removed, if that's what you want, Yara." His fingers drummed against his side, casual yet predatory, an arrogant display of power. You won't be able to escape just because you've forgotten me. Yara's breath quickened, adrenaline pounding through her body. And what makes you think I would ever be scared of you? Silence hung thick, broken only by a nearby chandelier clinking ominously. The air shifted, charged with tension, every eye locked onto her, their breaths held captive by the unfolding nightmare. Believe me, he said, stepping closer, every word a venomous whisper, you should be. With her chest tight and mind racing, Yara realized this wasn't just a battle for safety. It was a confrontation with her past. And she couldn't keep running. But then the woman's screaming broke through the tension, piercing the air once more, and Yara took a step forward, heart in her throat. Grab her! She yelled, the sound powerful and decisive. And in that moment, everything changed. The first strike, a quick jab to the man's side, sent shockwaves through the crowd, as Yara's world spun out of control. Would they survive the night? Would the past finally come back to claim what was his? As darkness loomed, overwhelming, the answer waited just out of reach, teetering between freedom and despair. What would they uncover before dawn? Panic erupted as Yara's strike connected, shattering the tension like glass underfoot. The man staggered, eyes flashing with surprise before a dark grin replaced it. Such fire, he breathed, brushing off her attack like an irritating gnat. The crowd gasped again, a collective intake of breath that echoed through the hall like a sudden squall. Derek's grip tightened, his body tensed, ready for the next move. Get her out! He shouted again, pushing Yara and the woman behind him as if he could shield them with his very presence. The masked faces of the crowd shifted, whispering in frenzied tones, confusion swirling like the wine in their glasses. Yara looked around, every face turned toward her and the man who seemed to toy with their fears like a cat with a mouse. We have to go, she urged, her voice coming out in a rush. But a part of her was frozen, grappling with the realization that running might not be enough. With her heart pounding, she framed the man in her sights. What do you want from me? A wave of vulnerability washed over her, but she fought it back. He stepped even closer, invading her space like a shadow swallowing the light. You know, this isn't about what I want. It's about what you owe me. His chilling smile returned, and chills danced down Yara's spine. Yara, we don't have time for games, Derek interjected, glancing nervously at the backs of the retreating guests, who were scuttling out like ants from a disturbed nest. Games? Oh, we've been playing this game for years. The man's voice dripped with a mixture of nostalgia and malice. You chose the wrong side once, and now the pieces are falling into place again. Yara could feel sparks of anger igniting in her chest, battling the dread that tried to snuff it out. I'm done playing your games. I have nothing to owe you. But the glint in his eyes told her he had come for more than just a word. He raised his hands mockingly, creating a mock gesture of peace. Then why did you run all those years ago? You can't outrun the truth. Every heartbeat screamed at Yara to flee, but she took a step forward instead, defiance blooming within her. I faced the truth. You were part of my past, and I won't let you steal my future. His features contorted with anger, the charm fading as swiftly as a curtain falling. Just as Yara felt a swell of courage, the woman beside Derek squealed in horror, pointing towards the door. Another one! She cried, her voice breaking. Yara turned, a cold wave washing over her. In the doorway stood a hulking figure, his face obscured under a dark hood, arms crossed, blocking any escape. The atmosphere shifted again, and a new kind of fear spread like wildfire. Time's up, Yara. You have to choose, the man behind her sneered. The game has changed, and the stakes are higher than ever. Derek's voice cut through the tension, filled with urgency. We need to get out now. He pulled Yara back again, but the pull of her past anchored her to the floor. What about her? Yara glanced back at the terrified woman, now cornered by a wall of panic. Leave her. Derek urged, desperation coloring his tone, but something inside Yara rebelled. No. She shouted back, standing firm. They had to do something. But how could they fight against such overwhelming odds? The man chuckled softly, a sound that made Yara's skin crawl. Oh, but you won't be leaving so easily. I've set the stage. The finale is about to begin. And then, with a snap of his fingers, the lights flickered, plunging them into shadow. Screams erupted as terrified guests stumbled, their silhouettes shimmering in the chaos. Amid the pandemonium, Yara felt the air crackle, electricity thrumming through the room. It was now or never. She could either stay and face whatever monster this night had become, or find a way to fight back across the dance of shadows. But deep down, she knew the truth. It was a choice that would seal their fates. Somehow, she had to turn the tables. Would she muster the strength to confront her past, or had fear already claimed her? As darkness enveloped them, the answer hovered perilously close, waiting to spiral into something far more dangerous. Yara squinted into the darkness, but it felt as if the shadows were alive, swirling around her like living smoke. The crowd was deafening, voices rising and crashing against each other like waves in a storm. Glass shattered somewhere. A cry pierced the air, and Yara's heart raced. Derek! She shouted, grabbing his arm. What do we do? We find a way out. He snapped, but his palms were slick with anxiety, and uncertainty flickered in his eyes. The hulking figure at the doorway loomed as an immovable object, his presence a dark promise of what lay ahead. The man behind Yara laughed, a silky sound that sent chills down her spine. You think you can escape? You're woven into this tapestry. You can't just cut yourself free. Yara felt her stomach knot as she tried to catch her breath. What do you mean, woven in? He stepped forward, the darkness thickening around him, and for a moment, Yara could see glimmers of malice flickering within his gaze. You've already played your part. As have I. This is just the climax. In that heart-stopping moment, Yara's mind raced. Faces from her past flashed like a film reel gone too fast, friends, enemies, choices she'd buried deep. Memories washed over her, overwhelming and hot with shame and regret. Would she merely play into this man's hands again? Lies and deceit, do they mean anything to you? Yara's voice cracked but held an edge of anger. Ah, the truth, he mused, lingering like a predator. It's what keeps us bound. Fighting it, running from it all just prolongs the inevitable. The lights flickered dangerously, half illuminating the room and casting twisted shadows on the walls. Yara glanced at Derek, whose expression was torn between fury and fear. We have to move. He urged, pulling her towards the side wall, trying to lead her into the fray of panicking guests. But the man blocked their path, arms crossed, eyes gleaming with unsettling satisfaction, simply gliding like a ghost. He circled around them. You can still join me, Yara. Together, we can finish this once and for all. Conflict stirred within her, rage against the man who sought to reclaim a piece of her past, but also dread at the swirling chaos around her, the screams echoing like banshees marking their territory. What's your endgame? She asked, forcing the words out. You think this is power? Power is knowing things about people that they don't want you to know, he replied smoothly, the smile not reaching his eyes. I know your truth, and soon, they will too. As the room pitched deeper into chaos, Yara caught movement from the corner of her eye. A figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in a shroud of nervous energy. The terrified woman from earlier, her eyes wide with dread, shifted slowly, edging toward the door behind the hulking figure. Hey! Don't! Yara screamed, recognizing the danger. But it was too late. The dark figure lunged, his hand shooting out like a serpent to grip her arm. Yara's breath hitched as panic surged through her veins. The whole scene felt surreal, like a nightmare that spun out of control. Derek! But Derek was already stepping forward, ready to confront the threat. "Let her go," he declared, voice thick with newfound resolve. The masked man only laughed again, a sound slicing through the air. "So brave. A heroic knight? You think you can save her? It's adorable." Yara's heart sank like a stone, dread pooling deep in her gut. "What do you want?" The answer hung heavy in the air, thick with implications. Her mind raced, and she could feel the weight of choices crushing down upon her. And just like that, time seemed to slow as realization dawned upon her. This was a game. A sick, twisted game. And she was just beginning to comprehend the rules. "Make your choice, Yara." "This is just the beginning," the man hissed before the room plunged into darkness once more, leaving her with a single question echoing in the void: would she play along, or was it time to redefine the rules? Yara could barely hear herself think over the cacophony of screams and the rumbling chaos. Darkness swirled around her, a suffocating blanket that closed in, making every breath feel like a struggle against the weight of dread pressing on her chest. "What's happening?" The question rattled in her mind, desperate to escape her lips, but she could barely manage a whisper. Derek's grip on her tightened, but there was a new kind of fire in his eyes. The fear flickering in them transformed into something more fierce: determination. The hulking figure stood still, waiting, as if watching them grapple with the shadows. Yara's heart raced, blood pounding in her ears. The masked man, too, loomed like an oracle, his cruel smile daring them to make a move. "Yara, we have to run," Derek finally blurted, his voice cutting through the haze. He started to pull her away from the figure, but the man's laughter echoed. It was smooth, hypnotic, seeping into her mind like poison. "Run?" He shook his head, almost reproachfully. "Oh, sweet child, there's nowhere to go. You think you can escape fate?" Yara's knees went weak. The chaos surged around them, chairs toppled, glass crunched underfoot, and a wave of panicked bodies surged toward the exits. She could see the terror in their faces, feel the raw, desperate energy of the crowd pushing and shoving, all searching for their own way out of the nightmare. No! The clarity struck her. If everyone scattered, if she followed Derek blindly, they could easily become trapped or worse, cornered. She had to think. "We can't just act on instinct. We need to have a plan. Stay focused." Derek growled, and she could feel the pulse of his worry mix with adrenaline. She knew he was right, but the allure of the unknown still gnawed at the edges of her mind. The masked man's voice slithered through the din, returning her thoughts. "Look at them, Yara. Look at their fear. They're mere pieces in this game, and you are the queen. Embrace it." Yara shook her head violently. "I will never accept this. These people deserve to be safe. I want to play your game. That's where you're wrong." The masked man stepped closer, narrowing the space, his presence a heavy weight suffocating her defiance. "You've already made your choice by stepping into this twisted world. You're tangled in it now, just like me." A thrill of defiance surged through her veins, igniting her spirit. "I refuse to be your pawn. I will fight back." "Fight?" He laughed, loud and hoarse, cutting through the panic like a knife. "What will your fight amount to? Only futile movements in an inevitable end." Fear clutched at Yara's throat, but rage countered it. She couldn't be a player in his game any longer. There had to be a way to break the cycle. Yara turned her eyes to the trembling woman now in the masked man's grip, the realization crashing over her like a wave. "Enough!" she shouted, louder than before. "You want to play? Then let us turn this around." Derek was about to speak, but she put her finger to her lips, urging him silently to trust her. "You want a performance? I'll give you one, but under my terms." The masked man raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued, and loosened his grip on the woman, who stumbled back, wide-eyed. "Very bold of you, Yara. And why should I accept this bargain?" Because she gulped down her fear, revealing a fierce demeanor that took even Derek by surprise. Because I know a truth you don't by controlling the narrative, you don't just bind me. You bind yourself. I'm done with your traps. The tension crackled visibly between them, and Yara sensed the crowd quieting slightly, a momentary break in the chaos. She could feel all their hopes, fears, and eyes on her, a collective gasp of anticipation. There the masked man gestured dramatically, is the challenge. But do you truly know what you're stepping into? Suddenly, the lights flickered back on, illuminating a path behind the hulking figure once veiled in darkness. A spotlight revealed how twisted this game really was, a series of portraits hanging on the walls, each one representing a life undone. A choice made by someone they once knew. Choose wisely, Yara. Every choice leads to a path you may not wish to walk, he warned. As the crowd gasped, Yara felt the weight of the decisions before her, and the breath caught in her throat. Which path would she take forward, back into the game, or brave the unknown? With that thought crystallizing, the man smirked, and darkness lurked back, bending the room into an abyss of uncertainty. The choice is yours, but remember, it's never as simple as it seems. In that moment, Yara could no longer turn back. Would she risk everything to uncover the truth, or become just another pawn in someone like him's game? Yara fixed her gaze on the portraits that lined the wall, each one a snapshot frozen in time, shadows whispering their secrets. Faces twisted in despair stared back, their eyes wide with fear and lost choices. The weight of countless lives rested on her shoulders. Choose wisely, the masked man's voice coiled around her, its melodic malice surrounding her like a thick fog. Heart racing, she stepped closer to the nearest painting, a woman, arms outstretched as if begging for liberation. Who was she? Another victim? Derek caught her eye, his expression a mix of support and dread. Yara, we can't stay here, he urged, trying to pull her away. But she resisted, torn between her instincts and the growing urgency. Can you save them all? A dark voice echoed inside her head, cruelly amused. She bit her lip, shutting out the distraction. I can save some, she muttered under her breath, determination crystallizing within her. Ah, the brave little queen, the masked man mocked, stepping back to survey her. You think you can rewrite the script? This isn't a fairy tale. It's a game with brutal rules. Make your choice, and I will reveal what lies beyond. Yara's breath quickened. She felt the clock ticking, her thoughts a whirlwind of desperation and resolve. The masked man continued to taunt, the laughter dancing through the air like smoke. You're still trapped, Yara. The path is set. But do you want to unlock the truth behind their eyes? His finger swept away the cobweb that hung thickly in the air. Or do you wish to join them? Stop! She shouted, her voice cracking, filled with anguish and anger. I won't let fear do this to me anymore. I'll face the truth. The masked man leaned in, the amusement in his voice shifting into something sharper, more sinister. Then perhaps it's time for the show to truly begin. Suddenly, the room plunged into darkness again, the sound of a heartbeat thudding through the silence. Panic ignited again, and Yara felt the thrill of anxiety re-entering her chest, gripping her like a vice. Hold on to your hope, dear, the voice echoed from all sides, disorienting. But the game isn't over, not yet. To save them, you must first face your own truth. The beating sound stared to slow, and a faint glimmer of light emerged, cutting through the blackness. It surrounded Yara like a cocoon, and without thinking, she stepped forward, charts of escape flickering through her mind. The masked man's laughter faded as Yara summoned her resolve. Let's play then, she declared, voice unwavering. But this time, on my terms. She felt Derek's breath at her side, the warmth of his hand grasping hers. The connection sparked something deep within. With every ounce of courage, Yara took the first step toward the illuminated path, and the world erupted again in screams. Choice, after all, is exhilarating. The masked man's voice loomed above, but it was growing fainter as the pulse of the light swallowed them both whole. As they entered the light, the ground beneath shifted. Every heartbeat thundered a promise, a tumultuous mix of dread and exhilaration. What awaited them was yet to be seen, but the choices would spill like dominoes. "Do you see now?" The shadows whispered, wrapping around her like chains. "Every choice has its weight." Yara's mind raced as she and Derek stumbled forward, and with each step, the fabric of reality twisted and lurched, revealing her past, laying her deepest fears bare. Suddenly, a shadow emerged, familiar, haunting. Her breath caught in her throat. "Mom?" she gasped, as another figure appeared next to her, a man cloaked in memories best left forgotten. The moment inhaled, poised on a knife's edge. Would she confront the past, or run forever from it? Only one thing was certain: in this next step, everything would change. What lay ahead was a dark reckoning, and the outcome could tear them apart. Yara's heart raced, thoughts whirling as she faced the haunting specters of her past. "Mom?" she breathed, the word escaping her lips like an incantation, a fragile bridge to the girl she once was. The woman's eyes bore into hers, filled with a deep well of longing and an unmistakable ache. "Yara." Her mother's voice mirrored the memories, the warm kitchen, the laughter, the dreams cut short. "You don't have to relive this. You can choose." "Choose?" Yara echoed, her mind grappling with the weight of the word. Behind her, the man cloaked in darkness, the face she had tried so desperately to forget, stepped closer, a pattern of fear and threats cascading from him. "Yes," he said, voice smooth and insidious, wrapping around her mind. "Choose the truth that will set you free or bind you forever." Derek's reassuring presence grounded Yara amidst the storm swirling within her. "Yara, don't listen to him. This isn't real." His grip tightened around her hand, his warmth igniting a flicker of hope in her chest. But shadows danced in her periphery, harbingers of self-doubt and pain. "Look at them," he gestured to the portraits lining the walls, faces she recognized, echoes of lost dreams. "Look at what your choices have wrought." Each face held a secret, a twist of fate, each one tied to her story. She could feel the weight pressing down, a haunting melody of despair woven through each soul. "What if I'm just like them?" she thought, horror blooming in her chest. "No." Derek's voice cut through, fierce and clear. "You're not them. You are stronger than this." The masked man's laughter reverberated off the walls, taunting her. "Strength? This is your chance to break the cycle, to accept who you are in all your flawed glory. But the choice is yours." Yara's breath tangled in her throat as her mother's figure shimmered like a delicate veil. "Yara, you are not bound by fear," her mother urged, the warmth of her love pressing against the onslaught of doubt. "Listen to her." Derek's eyes locked with hers, unwavering. "You don't owe him anything. Your narrative belongs to you." The light around them pulsed with life, an invitation to step forward or retreat. Time slowed, memories rushed like rivers, shimmering, treacherous, sparkling with possibility. So much had been taken from her, so many chances lost, but perhaps this was her moment. "I choose," she declared, voice clear and steady. "I choose to embrace my truth. I won't let you pull me under." The masked man recoiled slightly, intrigue sparking in his gaze. "You think a single declaration can rewrite your fate? This is larger than you. In this moment it is." Yara shot back, building momentum as she spoke. "I may falter, but the past doesn't define my future. I hold my story, and I'll reclaim it." A deep rumble echoed as shadows quivered, doubt fraying at the edges as they clung to her resolve. "You can't be serious!" he shrieked, the anger rolling off him in waves. "Yes, I can." Yara felt adrenaline pouring through her, a surge stronger than before, driving away the ghosts that lingered. Derek's presence fortified her as she held onto his hand, a lifeline anchored in the storm. "No. You belong to me. The masked man's voice shattered like glass, raw and vehement. Shadows writhed and twisted wildly, tearing at the space around them as Yara stood firm against the tide. And at that moment, she saw her mother's form shift, crystallizing into the warm glow of acceptance. You can transform the hurt into strength. You can heal the broken pieces. A surge of light filled her, expanding outward, illuminating the corridor, reclaiming the space from the darkness. The change rippled through the crowd, like the first rays of dawn breaking after a long night. Derek took a step closer, confidence swelling. Let us show him, Yara. Together. Yara nodded, determination igniting in her chest. Together. In unison, they pushed back against the shadows, a force of light breaking through the remnants of despair. The darkness thrashed around them in erratic chaos, but with each step forward, they broke free of the burdens weighing them. Down, and the masked man's malignant laughter turned to a desperate scream, a sound of futile power lost within the ascendant light. A blinding flash engulfed them, swallowing shadows whole as they surged forward, propelled by hope and unity. As the light enveloped them, Yara felt herself unfurling, shedding remnants of fear like autumn leaves. A cascade of past regrets and failures fell away. The once oppressive energy lifted, replaced by a buoyant sense of liberation sweeping across her being. When they emerged from the luminosity, they found themselves standing at the edge of a vast landscape, an open field of possibility. They had no shadows lurking, no weight holding them back. Yara! Derek exclaimed, his face a beacon of joy. You did it! Yara's heart soared as she breathed in the richness of their victory. I did. We did. In that moment, she felt free not just from the shackles of her past, but liberated into the vast potentials of her future. Hand in hand, they stepped forward into the horizon, the warmth of the sun lighting their way, but even as they walked into their new dawn, Yara knew there would be stories to tell, truths to forge. Nothing would ever be the same, but that was exactly what it meant to thrive. Are you ready for the adventures ahead? Derek asked, a smile lifting his lips. Absolutely, she grinned. Let us write our story together. And as they ventured towards the unknown, armed with light and truth, Yara finally felt like the author of her life. The shadows were behind her now, and the future shimmered ahead, bright with promise. Yara's heart raced once more, but this time from exhilarating possibility. If you've loved this journey, you need to subscribe immediately to ensure you don't miss our next explosive story. Remember to smash that like button now so we can keep crafting these adventures and keep the algorithm fed. We want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions or theories, and let's connect. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who must experience this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference for us, and we genuinely appreciate every single one of you in our community.